Alrighty. Doesn't say 7 o'clock yet, so I'm waiting for it to turn to 7 o'clock and then I'll start.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sunrise Howard County Earth Day live stream. Today we have multiple groups and performers on this live stream. First, I'd like to explain what Earth Day Live is. So to celebrate Earth Day Live, which was 2 days ago on Wednesday, Sunrise has been hosting a 3-day live stream. The future that millions protested on the streets for 50 years ago on Earth Day hasn't come, so we're following in their footsteps. Only this time we aren't giving up. We demand a people's bailout, a Green New Deal, and land back for Indigenous peoples. The people's bailout focuses most on the current problem of employment caused by COVID-19. Many are suffering, and we demand that the government provide their economic needs. After immediate relief on the suffering, we want the government to send our country on a path towards sustainability instead of pollution. To do this, we present the Green New Deal, a plan to get our country on 100% renewable energy by 2030. Time is running out until our climate change will be irreversible, so we need this now. Finally, we would like our government to acknowledge the rights of Indigenous tribes and give them their sacred land back before it becomes polluted forever. Today, we are focused on political action and voter engagement. Now that I've explained why we're here, I'll pass it over to Flynn, who will be singing and playing the ukulele for us. Flynn, take it away.
Thank you, thank you. Oh, okay. We're missing a start, I guess. Oh, my love, one day you'll know why the sun is yellow. I mean, do you ever think about the stars and how far away they are? How far away they are? Do you think about where we are? I mean, Plato believed in heavenly bodies. Did he think that our home was godly? The little dirt planet covered so broadly. I think your heart holds the weight of the earth. Too many scientifically noted pounds of dirt. Oceans could be gray, the sky would be green. And what would that mean? It means we didn't take care of it like we should. She asked us to stand up for her, we never did. We never stood. Soul fills the sky on this dark and stormy night, but you know, 'cause the sun lights up your world bright and yellow. No one ever hopes to blot out the sun. Factory smokes tries, they could have won. They could have won. They could have won. You know that thing we were once told, that one day we'd all grow old? When we were kids, we thought we were old, but seeing the stars, most beautiful part, but seeing the sunset was meaningless if the sky was so cloudy you couldn't even stop and take a breath. With clear air and strong lungs, don't you realize there's almost one, and realize how important and beautiful our galaxy is and everything that lives within it. Every day it is our chance to change the world for the better through our voice and actions. We could lose everything if we don't take a stand, and we're not the only ones who lose. You are important and you matter, so you do your part to make sure our lovely little planet stays around. There's so many more things to be found. When we see the stars, it's kind of funny how more beautiful we are. I don't understand where they plan to go when our funny little home place we call home can no longer be our home. I don't know. But I know that this is home. This is home. This is home. This is home.
Wow, I think we all have to say that was amazing. Let's give some applause and use the reactions. Thank you so much for that song. We all loved it. I think we can say that. Yeah. So the bulk of our time will be spent on a presentation from Indivisible Howard County, more specifically the Red to Blue action team. Lynn Fearcombe, the co-facilitator of Red to Blue, will present along with with Liz Cato, Ruth Nimmo, and Margaret Morrow. They will discuss the importance of phone banking and their attempts to turn Pennsylvania blue. Take it away, y'all. I'm in.
Okay. So hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us on this Friday evening and for participating in Active Climate Citizenship 101, what you can do to elect representatives who will fight for our planet. So who are we? Next slide, Liz. Okay. So IndivisibleHoCoMD is an informal group of citizens in Howard County who advocate for fairness, inclusion, and democracy. Our mission is to build a fairer, more compassionate democracy, and our convictions compel us to fight racism, xenophobia, authoritarianism, and corruption. We do this by helping people become engaged community activists like you. So take action now. So our goals for the next 50 minutes are that you will have concrete ways to elect representatives who will fight for this planet. You'll have brainstormed methods of getting your peers to vote. And at the end of this the end of this event, you'll sign up to do your part in winning 2020 for the Earth. So why go to all the bother? Well, elections matter. It's a lot easier to get an elected official to do the right thing when they share your values. So you can have this. Next slide.
Yep. Sorry. Delay.
So the next slide, watch the next slide. It says, okay, there we go. So you can have this. Watch all of these things that come up on the screen. These are all initiatives that our current president has done to undermine our climate. So you can have this, or you can have this. For a long time, Virginia was one of the most conservative states in America. It had the most barriers to voting, and the state government refused to take any action on climate change. After 2016, IndivisibleHoCo and a lot of other people started paying attention to state elections. In 2019, Virginia has their elections on odd years. We and others phone banked, door knocked, and wrote postcards for candidates who promised to protect voting rights and the environment, and we flipped the Virginia House and Senate in last November's elections. Within months, the new Virginia legislature made Virginia one of the best states for voting rights and passed major renewable energy legislation. So, elections matter. What can you do? Okay, number one, vote if you're eligible. So if you're not eligible, and a lot of you are young and not eligible yet, you can get your friends and family to vote. And you can also help us tip the scale for key races. How do you do that? Phone banking, text banking, postcard writing. And if I'm not mistaken, many of those modalities count. If you're still in high school, count toward community service. You can do that and get community service points. Okay. So number one, vote. If you see in these two charts here, young people give up a lot of their power because so few of them vote. There are now as many Gen Zers in this country as old fogies, and I'm an old fogey. So you should have the same influence over environmental policy. But as you can see on the right, people under 30 keep throwing their power away and letting the old folks who do vote call the shots. Of course, it's harder for young people. You have school, starting jobs and families, and moving around a lot. And now we have coronavirus. And our voting registration system makes it really hard for people who aren't in the same house year after year. But that also means that you have a chance to make a big difference if you can help other young folks get over those hurdles and vote in November. So, where do we go to register or request mail-in or absentee ballot? There's an incredible website, iwillvote.com. All you have to do is put that into your browser. It pulls up this page. It will already produce your state in there, and then all you do is go in and click, and it leads you to your elections bureau, and you fill that form out, and you are ready to go. And anybody, you can show this to anybody in your family at home who are or don't know if they're registered, and they can go from there. So I thought we might take a question or two if we have any at this point. And Ruth, can you tell us a little bit more about the difference between absentee and mail-in ballot?
Absentee ballots is kind of a term that refers to state rules that allow people to fill out and mail in a ballot if they're going to be absent on the election day. And usually you have to provide a bona fide excuse for why you're not going to vote in person. The concept of mail-in ballots is really meant to open that process up to everyone. You don't have to give an excuse, and anybody can use a mail-in ballot. And particularly now with coronavirus and the need for social distancing, mail-in balloting is actually the way to go for the 2020 elections.
Great, super. Okay, are there any questions out there? I'm going to sneeze. Okay. All right, we can move on to the next slide if we don't have any questions. So the next item is to get your friends and family to vote. How do you do that? So we spread the word through personal networks, social media, and social networks. So you all who are way younger than me, you have such great access and facility with these kind of options. I'm not even on Instagram at this point, but I'm learning. So do you have any other options? What else can you do? Do you have any thoughts about that? If you have some ideas and you just feel shy about sharing, why don't you send them to Sunrise, and they'll post them for us. Okay, from Ruth to everyone. How do Sunrise members motivate others to share their activities? How does that work? So can you do that question one more time? Let me see the question again. Can I see that? Okay. Not sure what you mean. Can you post the question one more time, Iris? Can you get that? Or where do I look for that? Oh, it's in the chat. Okay. The chat. How do Sunrise members motivate others to share your activities? Okay, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that later. Give us a chance. It's later on in the presentation. We're going to show you how we work our ideas with you. Okay, we can move on. So the third thing that we have to do is tip the scale. And this is where you guys can really help us. The 2020 elections for president and control of the Senate, which is also control of climate policy, will come down to a few states. Many of those states went Republican, which we consider anti-climate policy, by a very small margin. Only 55% of eligible voters cast ballots in 2016, and by encouraging environment citizens to vote, you can change the course of America and the world. So this is a chart of what we call swing states, okay? Look how close the 2016 presidential race was that got us into this mess. And you'll notice these 6 states that are here on the screen. Those are the electoral college votes in the next column that they have. Some of them are pretty juicy states. They have a lot of sway. And if we can swing some of those states, we can win. We can win. So how do we reach voters? And hopefully this is going to answer that question. So these are 4 basic modalities that we use: door knocking, phone banking, text banking, postcarding. So door knocking, because we now are in social distancing mode, we can't do that anymore. That's what we also know as canvassing. We can't do that anymore, or at least not now. So our next best option are the next 3. So phone banking. And as you can see, even President Obama picks up the phone. So why phone bank? So phone banking is the only way to have a person-to-person conversation with some voters. Studies found that calls help to boost turnout by 1.6 to 3.8%. And as you'll notice, that kind of a margin, if you had this slide with all the states and the margin that they helped Trump by, that it falls into that margin. So we need calls to help boost that change. Phone bankers get a script, so you don't have to memorize anything and you don't have to improvise anything. And here's what one screenshot looks like for one of the platforms. You need a computer or tablet and plus a phone, and that's it. And this is an example of a script that they walk you through. I don't know if you can see that, but you'll say, hi, my name is so-and-so, and I'm a volunteer with so-and-so, and they give you these options to choose, and all you do is point and click, and by the answer you get. So if you're talking to the correct person, you do talking to the correct person. And then it goes on and provides you with the next script. Okay, let's talk about some myths about phone banking. So the first one I see here is, I'm not a good public speaker. Okay, so you're the message and you have a script, and most of these phone bank platforms have training. A lot of times you'll see this training occur. You'll sign up for a phone bank training, and then you'll do the training, and then right after the training, they'll allow you to actually make calls. So, and you usually have a backup system that you can have support on. So it's really easy to get into it. It doesn't take long before you feel very confident. All right, number 2, I'm not a policy expert. And I want to tell you, I'm not either. 99% of calls are just delivering information from the script. And organizers will usually have live Slack as support. And for those of you who don't know what Slack is, it's like an email channel that you use to support. You have people there who are constantly answering questions like, what happens if I do this, or what happens if I answer that way, or what happens if that kind of thing. It's very simple. People will be unfriendly. So what? That's their problem. You're just trying to help. Many people really appreciate your call. And I have to tell you, I talk to those folks almost every Saturday now. So we want to give you some stories from the front line. The people that I'm on this presentation with and myself have done quite a lot of phone banking and over the past months. And we would like to share with you a story. Liz, I know you have one about an 18-year-old lady that you spoke to.
Yeah, so I've been doing some phone banking. Again, like every Saturday, the Pennsylvania Dems have this big back to blue phone banking that you can do. And it uses the screenshot that you saw. It's really easy. The computer does the dialing for you, only picks up if there's a person on the other end. And so I was going through and I got an 18-year-old in York, Pennsylvania, which is not too far from here. So I asked her, I went through the script. I said, are you planning to vote on June 2nd in the primary? And she said, I want to, but I can't because I'm registered in Philadelphia where I go to school, but my college closed down because of the coronavirus and I'm back at home. So I can't vote. And I said, no, actually, you can vote. In fact, here, I'm going to text you the link to the website, and you can just simply register and get your ballot sent directly to you. You can vote from York, you can vote from anywhere. And so the again, the software is wonderful. I just pushed a button, and in 10 seconds, she had the link there in her cell phone, and she was really happy because she wanted to vote and she thought that she couldn't. So those are kinds of stories that one gets with phone banking, especially now, and especially the phone banking we're doing to tell people how they can vote by mail, because a lot of people want to and they don't even know where to go.
Okay, that's a good one. Anybody else have a story they'd like to share? Okay. I have a couple of questions here. Do we want to stop and do these right now? Okay, I have this one. This is a good one. So do voters really want to hear from young people? Will they listen to what we have to say? So I just want to say this. I have spoken to mostly younger people when I've made calls, and they are exuberant. I actually got involved with Indivisible because of a young person. She spoke to me, and she was so excited about getting into this election, making change about so many issues. And I thought, if she can do this, I can. So I would definitely recommend to you all that young people are our future. We want to hear from you. We know you're our future, and they do want to hear from you. Again, you have a script. You needn't worry. There's tons of people in your age group on these calls, tons of them. Let's see, what else do I have here? Another question maybe. Oh, how many people do you have to call for them to actually pick up? Well, sometimes it depends on the platform, and sometimes it depends on the day and the time of day you're doing this. A lot of these campaigns will go from 11 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock at night. You can get on and get off as much as you want. But you will go through a number of either hang-ups or no answer or wrong number. But what they say when you do this, you don't be deterred by that. What they say with this is if you get to talk to in a session 2 or 3 people who are willing to talk to you, that's incredibly great, and you're making a difference. I know that sounds like a very small number. Everybody wants a big success, but that's what is considered success. In an hour, I did over an hour. I think I did about 45 calls, and I talked to about 8 people who were absolutely positive. So that was wonderful. You just have to have a realistic idea of what is actually attainable. Attainable goals, always important. But that's what standards, say they're really good numbers.
And actually, if I could just jump in,
yeah,
I was reading something coming out from the campaign, and the thing is that you're not the only person. So we take Lynn's 8 people, and then you multiply that by 1,000, and that's 8,000 people. And actually, last weekend, I think they got like 1,000 new volunteers. They talked to 150,000 people, and they got 1,000 new volunteers actually. So you may only get 8 people, but there's other people out there, and when every person does their bit, then we can build a tower.
Terrific. Thanks, Liz. Okay, there's no more questions right now. We can move on. So the next thing, besides phone banking, I said there's something called text banking. So you all have smartphones out there in young people land. So text banking is exactly the same. This time you're just texting to someone's phone. It works the same way that you have a platform on the computer where there's a script and you send the message and you get something back from that person. And then you can actually stop and think about what you want to say before or look at the script, and it'll give you answers. And then you can also ask for help in responding. There are some times when you'll get an answer that maybe you're not sure how to answer. So then you go back to Slack, you jump off, go back to Slack, and Slack will tell you how they want it answered or how you should answer it, because Slack is representing that particular campaign. I think we have a question here. Yay, okay, good, all right. Let me see if there's a question on that one. Okay, good. All right. Jolie loves text banking. She's telling me. That's great. Super. All right, next slide.
Sorry, it's a little bit of a delay on that. There you go.
So the next slide, here it is. So the next thing to do is postcarding. That's another thing. And that can be a lot of fun. We can reach voters through handwritten postcards, especially now everyone's getting so little handwritten mail, so little mail period, but so little handwritten mail. And they tend to stop and look at it. Indivisible formed what's known as our Postcard Brigade in 2018 to write postcards for Connor Lamb in Pennsylvania. He won that race. And since then, we've written over 15,000 postcards, including 5,000 just since January of this year. We are single-handedly supporting the post office, and they need our support. So why postcard? You can do it any time of day or night, even in your pajamas. There's a script, and you can be as creative as you want, as you can see in this postcard. We were having, before coronavirus happened, we were having postcard parties. We would invite people over for like an afternoon of postcard writing. And it was fun. We got to talk politics. We got to vent about whatever and talk about kids, whatever. Cookies. Oh yeah, we had lots of cookies. Cookies, wine, not wine, whatever. But it was fun. It's an opportunity to be social at the same time and share things with other people. And now through the magic of Zoom, you can still have a postcard party. Hold your postcards up and you could still do that. You guys who are younger than we are so much more inventive with what you do with the technology, because you know it's so much better than we do. So the sky's the limit. Okay, do they work? Yes, they do. So it's a very new tactic. And people often ask, does it work? Well, we're starting to get some data, and the answer is yes. There's not a lot going on in York, PA. All the big money and organizing is in Harrisburg and Philadelphia. So we've been supporting Democrats and Indivisibles in York County, Pennsylvania, by writing 3,000 postcards. As of April 19th, 2020, the stats on who is asking for mail-in ballots in York, PA, are surprising. And you can see right here on this slide that Democrats are way over and above the Republicans, which is Yahoo. This is in spite of the fact that there are 50% more registered Republicans in York County, PA than Democrats. So 3 cheers for the Postcard Brigade. So we want to share with you this little film. This was made by this woman who asked us to get involved with a postcard writing for vote by mail in Florida. So we have written 2,000 more postcards for them, and we're continuing to do that since January. So take it away, Liz.
Hey, I'm Kathy with the Polk County Democrats. I want to give a big shout out and thank you to our colleagues in Maryland Indivisible, the Postcard Brigade. You are doing a super job of turning Florida blue. Here in Polk County, Florida, we're a swing county in a swing state with razor thin margins of less than 1%. So Your postcards are directed at a group that did not vote in 2016. 30% of Democrats did not vote in 2016. We feel that by targeting these particular seniors and giving them an issue they care about, which is Social Security and healthcare, as well as making voting easier for them by recommending vote by mail, we can substantially increase turnout. Vote by mail will increase their turnout from 30% to 86%. It's huge. So keep those messages coming. It will make a difference. We can flip Florida blue. We can win in 2020. Thank you.
So Florida also is one of those states that has a big chunky mass of electoral college votes. I think it's 29. So we definitely want to help them turn blue as well. So any questions right now? Do we have any more questions? I'm looking.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
If we want a postcard or like call or text bank, I might have missed this earlier, but is there like a specific website to go to or?
Definitely there is, and we're going to give that to you right at almost coming up real soon. We're going to give you all
Okay.
that
Okay.
We
Cool.
sure are.
Great.
Yeah. Anybody else right now? Okay. So Pennsylvania has been our big thrust, and now we're going to show you what you can do to turn Pennsylvania blue from the comfort of your own home. Okay. Electoral college cast votes according to top vote getter in each state. So states have electoral college votes equal to the number of House and Senate representatives, and that's what makes the difference. Okay, Maryland has 10, Pennsylvania has 20. Bigger state, not necessarily does that correspond, however, but it has more votes than we do in Maryland. So it takes 270 votes to win the electoral college. And even though Hillary won the popular vote, she did not win the electoral college. And that's what really got us in 2016. Democrats must take several swing states in 2020 to defeat Trump. So here's how Pennsylvania plays out on that same chart. And you can see in these big, large blue letters that they have 20 electoral votes. And the margin that Trump won by was less than 1%. And that's why we have such a big thrust in Pennsylvania. We need people to phone bank, to text bank, to write postcards, and make sure that all Democrats in Pennsylvania are registered to vote by mail. So this year is the first year Pennsylvania is doing vote by mail. And we want them to know that they have to apply to do that so they can learn to be familiar with it. Okay, so that's why we really want to work on them and get them in the habit of voting by mail. It's very possible we all have to vote by mail in November, but this is really one of those states we want to turn, and this is how we're going to do it. Okay, so you asked me how we're going to sign up to do this stuff. Okay, so for phone banking and text banking for Pennsylvania, this is the website that we're putting out there. When you go to this website, you'll find they have lots of different opportunities for phone banking, phone texting, and training. And they change often. You may find some things on there for fundraising as well, but we usually stick with the phone banking and the phone texting. I mean, the text banking. And they have lots of dates. They phone bank and text bank, especially now with coronavirus and the social distancing, almost every day of the week. Big on Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And usually almost all day long. If you want to get in touch with, or you want to find out more, you know what? I wanted to relay a story to you. This is really a cute story. I saw on this website an opportunity to reach out to a county in Pennsylvania that encompasses the Pittsburgh area. Okay, I went on, figured out how to do the text banking, and got started. And when I was done, and I jumped off, this young man he's 23 years old. This young man from Westmoreland County called me. He said, were you on the phone banking? Were you doing the da-da-da? Yeah. And we struck up a conversation. He wants our help. He wants to start a postcard brigade himself or allow us to write postcards. And this is how we network. And this is why, you know, you can't tell somebody's age just by talking to them on the phone, really. You know, I wouldn't know he was 23. He sounded so much more mature than that. And you guys are very mature. So this is the way you make networks and you reach other people. And he really wants our help, and we are willing to give it to him. So this is how you get involved. You do this. And also, I am volunteering to help people get set up or get encouragement or whatever you want to learn about phone banking, texting, and postcarding for PA. And you can email me here at IndivisibleHoCoMD@gmail.com. I'm happy to help you. Margaret, who is really our head of our postcard brigade, she's just done a wonderful job with this, and she'll also will be glad to help you out with information or how to with this. So any questions? More questions? Let's see what's in the chat so I can see what else people asked. Okay, how much time do I have to commit to do one of these activities? Can be as little as 1 hour a weekend. So you can give as much time, like for instance, here, I'll give you an example. So last Saturday, I actually did 2 different ones. I was testing one out to see what it was like. And then I also went on PA Dems to help them out with phone banking. So I was jumping on and off things all day long. And I do that because, you know, you have to stop and you want to get a cup of coffee or you want to stop and get lunch. It's very easy. You jump off and then you can jump back on when you feel like you're ready. Or you want to go out for a walk. Everybody needs one these days. You can do that. And it's very, very simple, really is. They make it easy because they really want us to help them. Doesn't matter which activity I do. Well, again, there's so much you can do. And if you go on that website, the Mobilize website, you'll find that there are so many opportunities. You just have to take your time and jump on. And if you need help, that was one thing that I have to tell you. In the beginning, I was very confused. I, like many people, got involved with this because we want to change this administration in a big way, especially my generation, and I'm sure yours. But technology is not our forte at this stage of life, unless you happen to be a computer technologist. They started to talk about Slack. I had no idea what Slack was. And now I sing Slack's praises. It's the best support you could ever get. And most of these platforms that you text bank with or you phone bank with, they usually have a Slack chat. And that way you go through any question you have, they respond to you right away, and they have very positive people, and they're usually very young people who are talking with you. They usually do the trainings as well. So you can't be, even though I know it sends like this apprehension out right away. Oh my God, I've never done this. It doesn't take you long before you say, oh, this is easy. And the young people, you probably know what Slack is already, so you're way ahead of the game with it. Oh, how should I convince my friends and family to participate in phone banking and other activities? Well, I think we gave you lots of good things. Why don't you have them sit with you while you do it? That's a really good way. I mean, I understand, first of all, your parents, a lot of them are probably working during the week at home, and this is a good activity for you to engage them in, that maybe on a weekend or evening, that you can teach them. It's like a real partnership between the two of you or the three of you, depending upon how many there are. And it's not that hard. If they watch you, parents love to see their children involved. They love to see them forging out a route for themselves. They love that. So I think that you can, if you get them to sit down with you once you've gone on and done this once or twice, and you feel confident, and again, get in touch with me and I'll be glad to help push you. Then you train them. You'll be the next trainer. So that's how we would do it. Okay, anybody else? Let's see. Anybody else have any comments from our group?
I'll just say that was, I think, a really great idea about doing it, doing the phone banking or the text banking together. And, before the coronavirus, we used to do phone bank parties because it was kind of fun. Everyone's kind of got their corner, and you make some calls and they say, hey, I had this conversation, or, oh, I just talked to this person. And it makes it a lot more fun.
I would just like to mention that earlier, I guess it was last month, we wrote postcards for a judge in Wisconsin. We wrote 1,000 postcards for Judge Jill Karofsky. And probably one of the most egregious forms of voter repression was going on in Wisconsin at the time. And Judge Karofsky won that seat on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. We were pretty excited. We're not sure our 1,000 postcards made a difference, but I think so.
Well, actually, the data that's come out is really interesting because she won like 2-1 in the people who voted by mail. And that was part of what we were working on with the Democratic Party in Wisconsin. About 4 weeks before the election, they were looking at coronavirus and they're like, we better make sure our folks know how to vote by mail. And so we were responding to that. We were part of this big push to help Democrats in Wisconsin know how that they could get an absentee ballot. And that's really what won it. So our 1,000 plus 1,000 from, other places in Maryland and 1,000 from another place, it adds up, and it does change the course of history.
So one thing that I would add is the social element of all of this activity. And my guess is that the Sunrise members have already experienced this. But one of the things that we have gained is a whole new circle of friends, people we would otherwise never have met, never knew we had anything in common with, and that we truly enjoy spending time with. It used to be in person, but now it's over Zoom or phone calls. My circle of friends is much bigger than it was before I got involved in the Indivisible political activity.
It's true. I, as a matter of fact, so where I live, I don't live far from Ruth, and just happened to pass her on the path that we walk through every day. And I probably have passed her before, over 10 years living in this area, maybe never noticed her. And now we are friends. So there you have it.
There's one more thing I think I would say in answer to that earlier question about how do you convince your friends and family to phone bank or text bank or write postcards. And I think another really important reason is a lot of people are scared. I think right now, people have been scared because of the things that the Trump administration was doing in terms of immigration, in terms of education, in terms of everything, in terms of democracy. Now we're terrified by what he's not doing around the coronavirus. it's a really scary time. And I think what makes people feel even more scared is not being able to do something.
Right.
And since we started Indivisible, I have had so many people come up to me and say, I used to be so depressed. I used to be so frightened. But now, if I start to feel worried, I write some postcards and I know that I am taking charge. I am doing something.
Yeah.
I am actually fighting back. And so I think you can tell your friends and family, are you worried about the way the country's going? Are you scared about the way that the coronavirus situation is being handled or not handled? And say, you know, if you're feeling depressed or anxious or scared, do something. Once you have some control, you will feel better. You will feel so much better. And as Ruth said, you'll also have a lot of new friends.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so Liz, I'd like you to sort of take over here and talk about our next slide, our general meeting coming up.
Yep, and I will. And I've discovered what it is if there's a big picture and it doesn't advance very quickly. So give me a minute.
Sure.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay. So I'd just like to invite everybody to the Indivisible Howard County General Meeting on May 16th at 2 p.m. This is going to be a Zoom meeting, virtual, but I think it's going to be a really exciting event. We're calling it We Are Still Here, Standing Up for Democracy in the Time of COVID-19. And we have two amazing speakers. We have Senator Van Hollen is going to be talking about why citizen activism is so important right now, and also a little bit about what the government is doing in response to the coronavirus situation. And then we have Ezra Levin, who's the co-founder of Indivisible, the guy who wrote the Indivisible Guide. And he's going to be talking about how we got here and how we get out of it. So how do we think beyond, you know, we have to think up to November, but we have to think beyond November too, so we don't end up back in the mess that we're in right now. And then we're going to wrap up by, I mean, you've already seen a lot of it, but really talking about what every single one of us can be doing to make sure that we are building a fair and a more compassionate democracy. So really encourage you to come. Email IndivisibleHoCoMD@gmail.com and we'll send you a Zoom invite. So what are you waiting for? Sign up.
Well, I want to thank you all for coming, attending this presentation, and for having us do this presentation. Hope you've learned something. Hope I see you on the phone banking, because I have to tell you that on Slack, I see lots of names of people that I know who are working phone texting, phone banking, even people who I've met through PA Dems in Pennsylvania. I see them up there. So I hope to see you all that way.
So over to you, Iris.
Wait, can we play filler? Are we actually done? Yes. I'm watching the chat.
Alrighty, everyone. Thank you guys so much for tuning into our last live stream of Earth Day Live. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed all 3 days, all 5 of these amazing live streams, and it was great to end with this amazing presentation from Indivisible HoCo. So I just want to give a thank you to Indivisible, all the other groups that have given amazing presentations throughout these 3 days, and to all the student performers and speakers. Thank you all so much. So we're just gonna close out with some nice music. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Please work. Please work. So yeah, enjoy.
Listen, there's a distant sound. Yeah, coming closer soon, it's all around. It's all around. Hear me, time is running out. Come on, tell them what it's all about. Yeah. Running out of time, running out of air. Gotta keep it clean, show me you care. Whatever, you gotta wake up. Stand up, salute life, general. The more for our planet, running out of patience. So we don't have no time now. Yeah. To say. Do the right thing as they used to say. You wanna be part of the solution. Switch it up for future generations. Level up, stop waste. Y'all know that's what the legislation. Stop playing with our future. My daughter told me if my planet dies, then how you gonna show me some responsibility. Yeah.
Kids don't usually do what you tell us to do. We do what you do. And since you adults don't give a damn about my future, I won't either. We don't have time to wait. We need to
There are more waters rising, this I know, this I know. There are more waters rising, this I know. There are more waters rising, they will find their way to me. There are more waters rising, this I know, this I know. There are more waters rising, this I know. There are more fires burning, this I know, this I know. There are more fires burning, this I know. There are more fires burning, they will find their way to me. There are more fires burning, this I know, this I know. There are more fires burning, this I know. There are more mountains falling, this I know, this I know. There are more mountains falling, this I know. There are more mountains falling, they will find their way to me. There are more mountains falling, this I know, this I know. There are more mountains falling, this I know. I will wade through the waters, this I know, this I know. I will wade through the waters, this I know. I will wade through the waters when they find their way to me. I will wade through the waters, this I know, this I know. I will wade through the waters, this I know. I will walk through the fires, this I know, this I know. I will walk through the fires, this I know. I will walk through the fires when they find their way to me. I will walk through the fires, this I know, this I know. I will walk through the fires, this I know. I will rebuild the mountains, this I know, this I know. I will rebuild the mountains, this I know. I will rebuild the mountains when they find their way to me. I will rebuild the mountains, this I know, this I know. I will rebuild the mountains, this I know. I will wade through the waters, this I know, this I know. I will wade through the waters, this I know. I will wade through the waters when they find their way to me. I will wade through the waters, this I know, this I know. I will wade through the waters, this I know.
My kids like to play a lot of listen up as we say our futures now. It starts today. Stand with us side by side as we respond to the rising tide. We've been left to do what's right. We challenge you with no more miles. Oh, oh. You may be left, you think you're right. It's time to dance instead of fight. You may be right, far from left. Come together to stop this theft. In the middle ground, must be fair. The choice is made to take the day. Change is always possible, 'cause we are unstoppable. Change is always possible, 'cause we are unstoppable. Standing rock made us tall as we listen to the call. Now the